So this video addresses the pharmacological aspects of playing chess, and specifically what to eat and drink. And I've been to a lot of chess tournaments and seen some very strong players, and there are tournament players that are super GMs that have sponsorships, for various products. And if something universally worked, you can bet somebody's going to be on it somewhere, somehow. Fact is that what you need is to make sure that your protein levels are good. That's my experience, and this is what I counsel my students on. Keeping a complete protein packing situation for your brain to work properly. When people withdraw from protein, they've used that as protein deprivation. It leads to like mental confusion, all kinds of things, and it's actually used as forms of torture for interrogation purposes. So if you eat complete proteins with all your amino acids and then keep that up with protein bars and various things during the day, during the tournament, that's a good idea. Now, some players just refuse to eat at all during tournaments all day long. And whatever works for you works, as long as you can keep your energy level up. Sometimes, having a full stomach makes you have an empty brain. So I must say that protein is good. What I've noticed is a lot of strong players use caffeine. Drinking coffee or tea and continuously through the day. One really strong player comes to mind who used to win a lot of tournaments that I used to play in. He would just sit there with a thermos of tea and just gradually kill it all. And this guy had unbelievable sitz flash, and he would sit at the table all day long from like 8:30 in the morning till like 8:30 at night, hardly ever get up and go to the bathroom and just drink that tea, which is practically inhuman, but it kept him going and he'd win. So very strong player. As far as alcohol is concerned, alcohol has crept into chess over the years, and I know there are famous stories of Alekhine, or as people call him, Alekhine, drinking, and like Bogolyubov having to put him back in his chair, and he was like playing strong and did great on alcohol. But I think it's highly genetic, and it depends on culturally what your genes can handle and what you're used to. There are people who can't drink at all, and people who can drink certain kinds of alcohol and not others. But for instance, I've discovered, like, if I'm tempted to have a glass of wine or two, because my dinner, it's perfect with my dinner or something, the next day my chest is crap. And that's universally true, especially with even very good red wine. It's just not in my genetics to drink wine, and it's more in my genetics. I come traditionally from the beer countries of the world, genetically, and like if I just drink a beer or two, I can't even deal with it. The next day it's wonderful, it's fine. It's like I'm playing great. In fact, I can even drink a beer or two while I'm playing, and it's kind of strange, the reaction. Beyond a certain point, it's counterproductive. But it can have an immediate stimulative effect that actually seems to help, and in some cases it relaxes you and takes the anxiety out of the game, and that seems to work in your favor. As you would think, well, it's better to be wired. Well, sometimes it's not. So I've noticed very little difference, strangely enough, between playing chess at my top levels and playing chess after one beer at my top level. So that's just my 2 cents. And the next day thing, quality quantity really matter. There are people who claim that if you drink like purified alcohols like vodkas and things like that have been column filtered at various things, that it'll have no like bad effect on you at all in terms of I don't believe that. I believe that it's going to eventually break you down one way or the other. But I'm just talking about my lifetime of various noticing experimentation. And the best thing, if you want to play it safe, simply don't do that at all. Especially if you're not of age, and because your brain's developing for a long time. I wouldn't have my first drink for quite a while. Wait till you're out of college. So that's my really conservative advice. And speaking about college, I used to go to tournaments with one of my professor friends who was a state champion, and we'd stay in rooms together. We'd share like rides and rooms and things. And this guy would have reminded you of Sigmund Freud. Yeah, he was a psych professor. He had the beard and the pipe and everything. In fact, he was an Austrian, from what I remember. thick Austrian, Sigmund Freud professor, strong player, and a great guy. And he and I had a wonderful time, and he would always have a beer, no matter what, after a tournament, whenever, however, so. Um, the reason I brought up college was because at one point in college, as a university, um, there was an up-and-coming player, and of course, I'm not going to mention names, but he was one of the best players I'd ever seen. And this guy started out in the 1500s and rose fast. I mean, he was up hundreds of points very quickly in tournaments, and he was just one of these natural players that seemed to be able to have all the best answers. He had tactically sound, positionally sound. Everything he did worked really well. He became a very challenging opponent. He played second board to me in the Pan American Games one year on his way up, and I was sure this guy was going to pass me and become this great player. And then something happened. He decided to start smoking marijuana, and it was the most amazing thing. But after this meteoric rise in rating, his rating must have dropped, I don't know, 700-800 points. It was like the most amazing thing that happened over a period of like 6 months. He went from brilliant to moron, and simply by smoking marijuana on a regular basis. So I can't really say what he was smoking or how often, but it didn't seem to be that often, and he certainly wasn't smoking while he was playing. But I talked with him about it, and I talked with the other people, and it was just amazing what had gone on. I think something happened with his family, and he decided to start doing that. And that's one thing that, after seeing that, scared me to death. The last thing I want to do is become an idiot. So I thought that I'd mention that in this video, that I have seen that personally happen. So I would say good protein, some caffeine, that's the way to go. And that's my 2 cents.